Hello, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the JQuery library. And yes, I am back at school. Now, the shortest I've been able to explain this is in a 45-minute screencast. Today, because I've just come home from school, I don't have time to do a 45-minute screencast. As I always say, when I go back to school, we're going to have to resume to the regular rota of only uploading videos at the weekend now. So some of you guys that just joined the community won't know that when I'm in school, I can only upload videos on the weekends and when I have time, which is quite often, but there's no guarantee of having it done on weekdays. But I've just been on 2 weeks holiday, so that's why I've been able to fire off videos on the weekdays. Again, I'm doing this video on Tuesday, so again, I've got time today, and some days I will have time. But anyway, that's that out of the way. Today we're going to be talking about JQuery, and I always wanted to learn JavaScript for ages, and JQuery is a way to enhance your page with JavaScript, but easily and quickly. Now, I don't know about you, but I always found JavaScript a little intimidating. It's one of the more complicated languages, but JQuery makes it easier. It's a library, and I'm going to show you how to do it today. What it basically allows you to do is have loads of predefined functions to do loads of really cool stuff. So I'm gonna show you that today, and I'll take questions in the comments, because although I don't know that much about that, I'm actually gonna do a JQuery series of videos as I learn more and more. So we're just gonna dive in, and as the time goes on, if you don't understand it, leave in the comments and I'll get started. But I don't want this screencast to be 45 minutes long, so I'll just stop yakking and get started. I just have this kind of demo page here and 3 list items. These are just regular list items with some text and a title. Now we're just gonna do things using jQuery that you couldn't normally do in CSS when someone clicks a button or a link or a list item. And these are the 3 things we're going to plan to do, and I'm going to show some cool ways to do them in jQuery. No, these are things you can't do in CSS. So if you think you can, you can't. This is where jQuery really shines, because it makes development simple, and you'll see just how simple it is. So if we flip over to Coda, and we can actually start writing some stuff. I just have an index.php file which has got those list items in it, and we're going to do stuff to this simple page with jQuery when someone clicks on those list items. I've just downloaded jQuery from JQuery.com, and I've just included it on my page using that script src element. And I've now got another script which will give me a home to do all my jQuery. I could include this from another external file, just like you can link an external CSS file with CSS, but for test purposes I'm just going to do it in the same file. So once you've got jQuery from jQuery.com, make sure you read the documentation and kind of familiarise yourself with exactly what jQuery is. I'm going to start yakking, and we're just going to get on with it. So the first thing we're going to write in our JavaScript, and this is jQuery specific, is a $sign. This kind of is the equivalent to a JQuery, to a CSS selector, an ID, and this fires off all jQuery. You need to have a $sign before each jQuery statement. And then in the brackets, we're going to put our selector. And I've got double brackets there. Should just be single brackets. And the first thing we're going to write is document, because document's the thing that we want to look at first. And the next thing you write in JQuery is a dot, and then you write the state it wants to be in. So we're going to say only execute the code that we're about to write when it's ready. And then we're going to open brackets again. And we're just going to write the word function. We're not going to pass it any parameters at this time, but that's where you'd put in a speed or something like that. And then we're just going to open our function. In here is where you always do all of your JQuery. That's how you start off JQuery. It basically says when the document is ready, only when it's ready, then do what we want to do, as you'll see in a minute. Now, a good thing to do when you're writing jQuery is not after every statement, but maybe just periodically so you know where you are. Go over to a browser and refresh the page that you're working on. What that would tell you is in Firefox here, if there was an error in my code, it would come up with the red text error. So that's just something to keep in mind there. Now, I realise I'm going long again, but there's a shorthand version of this, which is to get rid of that document ready, but I feel like for newbies, document ready function is good, but this does the same job. I'm just going to comment it. 2 lines is a single line comment in JavaScript. Fire once. DOM is ready. You'll hear it being referred to as a DOM, but it's just shorthand for document. And then inside is where we're going to execute all our jQuery. So first of all, like we do in CSS, we're going to want to get a selector. And the first thing we're going to want to do is say when someone does something to one of our buttons, in this case, then do something to another element. So first, we need to select the button and capture that event. So as you see down here, I've got my class names, Action 1, Action 2 and Action 3. First of all, we're going to target Action 1. So we're going to start with this $sign and then the brackets. In quotes this time, we're going to put the exact same selector we do in CSS. So class of action -1. And then we're going to do a dot. So now we're going to say when someone does something to that element. Now there's all kinds of ones you can have. You can have hover, you can have click, you can have double click. When you press a key, when you move the mouse away from it. But for now, we're just going to use borrowing on click. I'll do some and then turn that into a function. We don't want to give it any extra parameters, but we're just going to make that. Function. Now you'll notice that when we did that document ready thing, this was the exact same structure. Document ready function. So it always goes the select to the state and then build a function. We don't want to give it any speed or anything like that. And I'm just going to be smart and a good kid and write a comment in there which says get button 1 click. So when someone clicks on button 1, so get the click, that's when this function will fire. So all the time we're working in functions, and all the time we're working inside one function, that document ready function. And all I'm going to do is write another comment. It's good to keep your code commented that says what we're going to do next. So what are we going to do next? Well, it says in our code, obviously we don't have to do this, but the button says we're going to hide the title. So we're going to do something when it's clicked, and just so that we can read it later, we're going to say hide the title. And unlike in HTML, you don't close these comments in JavaScript. This means a comment that's a line, so it then takes up that whole line with the comment. So again, we're going to get our selector. And in this case, just like we would in CSS, I'm going to say H1 because there's no other H1 on the page. But now you want to give, instead of the, well, it is the event, but you don't want to give it the action because there's no action to give it. So you want to give it hide, which is a built-in function to JQuery. And this is what makes JQuery so awesome, because it's so easy. And this is in seconds. So I'm gonna give it my mum just put her hand over the camera there, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm just gonna give it 10 seconds, but you don't have to put anything there. And then we're gonna end our statement. Save. Refresh. It's not told us we've got any errors down here in the status bar. And if you click the hide title, the title hid, look. And because we haven't set it up to show the title as well. When we click it again, the title won't show, but if we refresh, the title will come back again. The next thing we want to do is fade that button out. We're going to do a very simple function again. We're going to go outside of this function, but still inside the document ready function. And we're going to make another single line comment which says get button two, and I haven't got the JQuery page open here now to think of a good action that we can do, but let's just do get button two double click. I know this is quite uninventive, you could probably think of better ways or things to do, but what the heck, I'm only just showing you. I'm gonna make a $sign again for our selector, and in this case we're gonna select the thing with a class of action 2, and again let's just say double click, which the shorthand for JQuery is just without the arrow in the ear. Double click, and then of course we want that to be a function, and it's just more a case of knowing what you can do. JQuery really has no limits if you know what you do. I barely know any JQuery. I know enough to get by, but I barely know any. But just right there with some of the things we've done and some of the simple effects you can pull off just with 3 lines of code, that's really useful for design. This is what JQuery is all about, making regular web design easier. I'm going to keep an indent structure going, and I'm going to say, what did we say? Fade out button. And we're going to write a function which, because we're fading out the same button, we're going to get the same selector again. Class of action 2. And we're going to say dot, which is the event, fade, and then out in capital letters. And in this instance, I am going to give it a time just so that you can see more clearly it actually working. I'm going to give it something ridiculous like 300. That means that will take 300 seconds to complete, but you'll be able to see a difference. I'm going to end that JavaScript statement. and click on our button. And I suspect the reason why nothing's working is because we've already used the selector twice, so it'll be done 3 times. But let's fade out button. I got this selector wrong as well. I said action 2 when it's actually the selector's action -2. These are just the selectors that I defined in my HTML further down. And now if we click, then you saw then that if you watch carefully, the button fades out. So if you see right there, that's amazing. That you can do that with that nice cool effect. Let me just show you that again. Then it fades out. And there's all kinds of actions you can use, not just click and double click. I'll show you more of that in a later video. But now we're going to write another function for our last button. And obviously you can have as many functions as you want, but I've only prepared 3 for this screencast in an effort to keep the time down, although I have a feeling it's still going pretty long. We're going to get a final button with a class of action. -3, and let's say mouse out. So when the mouse isn't in it, then do something. So when the mouse is in, we should be able to see it restored. And that's the syntax. Notice I didn't comment it like I probably should do. Anyway, I'll do it at the end of the screencast. And we're going to get the selector of the ID. So we're going to reference an ID of the wrapper, which is the div that wraps all this content. I'm going to use a different event, which is .css. We're gonna do some stuff. I'm actually gonna pass it in a parameter of width, comma, and then these have to be in quotes. I had to revise this again before the end of the screencast, and I'm just going to reduce it to a width of 100 pixels, so you get an idea of something you can do in CSS. So let's see how well our last function. Wait, this is the first time I've tried to write a CSS function. so this may not work. And look down here, it says 1 error. It says there's something wrong with mouse out. So let's edit my function name here, because you have to get it exactly right. If not, I'll I have to actually, I forgot to do that. You have to give it a space for parameters, even though in this case I'm not actually putting any in. Maybe I was right first time, but now I've got the parameters in. Yeah, so when the mouse is away, maybe that wasn't a very good example, but it goes to 100 pixels. There you go, guys. I've written my first ever CSS jQuery function. Now notice you have to write it a little bit differently. And it's the attribute, and then in this case it's comma the value. I'm just gonna write a different one so it's easy for you to see. Hover. And then when it won't go back in one go because but it's gone to a width of 100 pixels based on what I said. So that was an intro to jQuery. It was long, but it was my most successful attempt at showing you, and it was quite successful. So we've done some cool effects there, and I hope they've been useful to you. I like number 2 myself, the one that hid the first button. But anyway, I digress. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Tune in for the next jQuery video where I'll be showing you some more juicy JavaScript. Thanks for watching.